Alright, here we go, guys. Comparing ratio tables. So that's our lesson for tonight. It's only 3 slides, so hopefully we can get through this fairly quickly. Make sure that you take out your sheet of paper that's comparing ratio tables that we made in class and write down your learning target. Your learning target is students solve problems by comparing different ratios using 2 or more ratio tables. So basically we're going to be comparing ratio tables and then looking at ratio tables, comparing them, and finding out, answering questions on that, which one's better than another one for different circumstances. They won't be the same. See if they're equivalent. They could be equivalent, or if one of them has a higher rating than another one. Okay, so let's get going on with our examples. If you need to pause, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll be moving on. Okay, we have one example. Our first example here is comparing juice to water. The following tables compare the amount of water to juice concentrate, which I'll use as JC in the problem, in grape juice made by different people. So we're comparing how much water they put in there compared to the amount of juice concentrate that they use. Okay, I have 2 questions to answer. First one, whose juice has the greatest water to juice concentrate? And the second question, whose juice would taste the strongest, meaning having the most grape juice flavor. Okay, so let's look at this. I'm going to give you 2 possible ways that you could compare these tables. Okay, one of them is kind of looking at them and finding some comparisons, and then the second way is doing a little bit of math to find the answers. You are allowed to use calculators, so that would help in that process. Okay, I'm going to slide down. If you need to pause to finish writing that, you go ahead. I'll slide down so we can see them. Okay, we have Laredo, Franca, and Milton. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to compare them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if there's any way that I can compare the 2 or the ratios 2 at a time. So I'm going to look for any similar numbers that fall between the 2 of the 3 ratio tables. So I'm going to start with, I see here in Laredo that we have, in Franca, we both have a 15 water. So I'm going to circle those here so that I can compare them. Alright, so what I have here is they both have the same amount of water. They both have 15 water. Okay, so however much water they're putting in is 15. But I can see that Laredo puts in more juice concentrate. Franca puts in less. Laredo put in 5, Franca put in 3. Which means that Franca has more water to juice concentrate. She has more water in her juice, okay, than Laredo does, okay, because he's putting more juice concentrate in there. So she has a stronger water taste, okay. Now, so I know that Franca has more water to juice concentrate than Laredo does. Now let's check out Milton and see what he's got here. So I'm going to try to compare them. So I'm going to look for anything that I can find that they both have, and oh, I found one, a 40 here. Okay, they both have a 40. So when I look at that 40, I'm going to compare them. Again, they both have the same amount of water, so who has more fruit juice? Well, when I look at them, or juice concentrate, when I look at them, again, Franca has the same amount of water, but she has less juice concentrate. Okay? So she only put an 8, he has 10 in there, so he has more juice. So comparing and looking at those, I know that to answer the first question, whose juice has the greatest water juice concentrate, it's going to be Franca. Okay, they compared to the other ones, they have the same amount of water, but they used less juice, which means their water is going to have a stronger flavoring. Okay, now let's answer the second question. Whose juice would taste the strongest? Well, it's between Laredo and Milton. So I'm going to look to see if they have anything in common. And when I do, when I look, I can find one thing they have in common. I'm going to use a box to illustrate this one. Okay, and I'm going to use this one. And you're probably looking going, wait, that's 16, that's 4. Well, it's that 4, or 16 and 12. It's this 4 that I'm looking at. Alright, so now I have to look at that 4 where they're the same. So I'm trying to find one category that they have the same. And they both have 4 is the same. So now I'm going to look at the water. Okay, I'm trying to find out whose would taste the strongest. Well, they both put in 4 parts of juice concentrate. Milton put in 16 parts of water. Laredo only put in 12 parts. So they used less water, okay, compared to Milton. They have less water. Milton has more water. So when I compare them that way, I know that Laredo used the least amount of water when he made his juice. So whose juice would taste the strongest? Laredo. Okay, so I can do that by just using comparisons. Okay, I gotta think about what it means though when I'm working on it. Okay, a second way of answering these problems would be to actually find the value of the ratios. So that would kind of be like simplifying. Value of the ratios is simplifying them so that I can compare them that way. So one thing I could do for them on this problem would be actually comparing my water to my juice. So I could just take one category for Laredo, and I could take 12 to 4, and I could say, oh, that reduces to 3 to 1. That's Laredo's ratio. And then Franca, I can do that and say, okay, I can take her water to ratio, and I'm just going to do the first one, 10 to 2, and I can say that reduces to 5 to 1. Okay? All right, and I'm just getting that basically by doing 12 divided by 4, 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, I'm dividing this by 4, dividing that by 4, I'm dividing this by 2, and I'm dividing that number by 2. So I'm dividing both numbers by the same thing. Do that with Milton. Okay, he's going to be 8 to 2, so I can divide them both by 2, and I get an answer of 4 to 1. So now I can look at it and see. Now the first number represents water. So who has the greatest water to juice concentrate? Well, Franca. Look, she has 5 to 1. 5 is more than 3, 4. They all have 1 as the second number. So I'm comparing those first numbers. And whose would taste the strongest? Laredo, because they have the least amount of water, okay, which means that their juice concentrate is going to be higher. So that's two ways that you could use of solving these problems. Okay, look at the comparison or kind of break them down into the value of the ratio, which means simplify them and then compare their simplified numbers. Okay. All right, I'm going to go on to my next example. If you need to pause, go ahead. All right, my next example, my next and final example, okay, we're going to be comparing texting speeds, and for some reason these numbers got thrown off, so let me rewrite those there. Okay, that's just 3579. So let's compare texting speeds. The following tables show how many words each person can text in a given amount of time. Order the students from slowest text speed to fastest text speed. So we have Jessica, Maria, and Michelle. So what order are they going to be in from slowest to fastest? Okay, so again, two ways I can solve this. I'm going to show you two ways. I can look for common numbers between them. So for this one and this one, I can look, and they both, in 6 minutes, were able to do, Maria was able to do 240, and Jessica was doing 270, which means Jessica's faster than Maria. Okay, I'd have to compare them all this way. Okay, so then I would look at Maria compared to Michelle. Okay, and here they both have 3 here, and I can see that Maria is slower than Michelle. So Maria was slower than Jessica, and Maria was slower than Michelle. So Maria is the slowest. We know that. All right, now I have to compare using Jessica and Michelle. Who's faster between Jessica and Michelle? Here's where the problem comes. When you look at those numbers, they have nothing in comparison. Okay, and this is the downfall of trying to use this system, is that this one's going 3579, this one's going 2468, so I can't use that method. So it's hard to compare. None of the top numbers match either. So I can't compare them. So what do I do? Well, this is why I showed you the value of the ratio, because now I can use that technique. I can figure out what their words per minute is. So for Jessica, I'm just going to do 90 and 2. I'm going to divide them both by 2. And I can say that she can do 45 words in 1 minute. For Maria, I do 120, although we already know what she's at. Divide those by 3, and I can tell that she does 40 words in a minute. Do the same for Michelle, 150 divided by 3. Divide those by 3, and she can do 50 words in a minute. This is the advantage of that value of the ratio. Even though looking at them usually is a little faster, this is the advantage of this. Now I can compare them. Maria only can do 40. Now I know that Jessica can do 45 words, so she's next, and Michelle's the fastest, and she can text 50 words in a minute. And that's how you can compare them. So you can try to compare them within the table. If that doesn't work, you have to use the value of the ratios. Okay, otherwise you can try to use either one. You can always use value of the ratios to kind of compare them. But we're looking for similarities, something they have in common. So they all ended in 1 minute here. We're trying to find one part they have in common so we can compare another number. Okay, sometimes you can do all three at the same time, like I did the value of the ratio, or so I can do two at a time and try to place them based on that. Okay, that is all for today. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.